being in the music industry, a reality that a lot of people have to come to, that's a really hard truth, is you're not going to make it. The music industry is discouraging AF. Every day the rules change. That's why I learned how to play the game, and then I got out and created my own. I'm not in the music industry. I'm in the people business. People will always make money. People will always win because we are storytellers, and storytellers always win.
You're hearing from music entrepreneur Erinn Knight. She's an Atlanta enthusiast, artist advocate, and most importantly, a dreamer. She's passionate about bridging the gap between artists and gatekeepers by teaching those foundational business practices and really just simple industry hacks. She's launched a number of businesses around empowering independent creatives in the music industry. One of those businesses, Build Your Own Dreams, is a creative agency and lifestyle brand. Their mission is to empower ownership by building your own dreams.
Yeah, so for all of my empaths listening to this is your episode. And even, music creators, business people, whoever you may be. And, maybe you're not as in touch with your feelings, in touch with your emotion, or you keep those separate. You compartmentalize when it comes to business and when it comes to the music and things like that. I think this is just going to be such a great tool for how you can tap into those emotions, tap into those inspirations, and really just like tie that into what is your vision as a creator. And what kind of music, what kind of things do I want to bring into the world? So really excited about this episode and our conversation with Erinn. And usually we start with like talking about creatives and futurism and how we're all futurists. But I want to do that at the end because what I think Erinn did a great job at sort of setting up how you can dream for the future and follow that dream as almost like a roadmap to get to where you want to go. And so I think a good place to start, when we're talking about Erinn, talking about her dream, talking about her vision, is talking about how she was inspired to music by her connection to sound.
So I think it's ingrained in me just naturally because I'm of African descent. And recent African descent, we're all of African descent, but recent African descent, And so I think it's innate, right? But I also grew up in the church with big choirs and incredible worship teams and just people beside you humming and singing from a place inside that's unseen, right? Mm-hmm. And so I've always understood that I could feel the same thing that somebody else felt inside of them through the connection of sound, right? Like somebody can feel something and create a sound and I can feel them now, right? It's like the closest thing outside of sexual contact, I think, and maybe motherhood, where you can be essentially inside of someone, right? And I'm an empath and I crave connection, but like intense, deep connection, right? So I think I got into music on an otherworldly level, you know what I'm saying? I was always connected and I want to connect to other humans consistently. So it was just a way that I felt connected to other humans. But I think my upbringing in church, just hearing so many eclectic sounds. My two most listened to albums before the age of 15 were Kirk Franklin's New Nation and Fred Hammond's Pages, I think. My parents were like not giving us secular music. I used to listen to like Chopin and Rachmaninoff, and then I would go listen to Kirk Franklin because I could get a little bit of something, and then occasionally there's Mary, whatever. But I've always had an ear for that. And then when I got into high school, I really got heavy into like pop punk music and rock music, post-hardcore music. And then I started like touring in the rock music scene. My brother used to buy mixtapes from the gas station. So I heard Soulja Boy like years before that song got hot in the world. I was hearing Soulja Boy records, when I was in high school, we were the same age, So I think it's just, I'm from Atlanta. Like music is here. I'm an ATLian, like right here.
Yeah.
For real. This is
Yeah.
like peace up, A-Town down as true as it comes. I'm from the South Side. I'm from Riverdale. You know what I'm saying? Riverdale Road. Like,
Yeah.
shout out to the South Side. Like, I love Atlanta, but there's just so much there. And my mom, she grew up, we couldn't really super afford it, but she always made sure I got to experience the fine arts. So we would go to the matinees of the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra, and I would go see the ballet because she was like, I'm gonna give my child a quality of life. We weren't like bad off, but we didn't really have a lot. But my mom,
Mm.
she was like, y'all don't need clothes, all that. Y'all need experiences. And I'm so grateful for that. So things like that channeled me, hearing stuff on the street. I mean, I just was not picking up music every day, all day, everywhere.
Man, she was getting like really like spiritual with that almost, and like the role that
Absolutely.
music has played in her life. And just talking about how music is such an incredible tool for connection. And I remember her in one of our previous episodes, you sort of like picked up on that insight before about music sort of being like a tool for
Yeah.
connection.
Yeah, absolutely. Like music is the technology of connection, and that technology just continues to advance in different ways. You know, if you think back and the earliest existence of man making sonic creativity, maybe banging drums to communicate from village to village or across long distances, and like just feeling connected in that way. And now it's, hey, I'm writing a song that's so deeply personal to me, but it's also something that other people have felt so it resonates with them, and we're connecting in that way. And now that's being broadcast through, smartphones and streaming, and soon the metaverse or wherever else we end up. So it's just interesting how resonant to, no pun intended, music continues to be for connection. So, with music being that technology for connection, it's interesting how much she was talking about for her that emanated from the church. And you talk about connection, connectivity, like spiritually or religious connections, like that's some of the deepest bonds that people know. And it's just always interesting how you hear frequently musicians, they could be, into rock or R&B or even hip hop, producing and whatnot. So much of that is grounded in the church, particularly in the Black church.
Yeah, I think it's definitely just been a theme that we've seen in a lot of the musicians that we talk to, but also the people who are in music business that we've talked to, is that a lot of them encountered their love of music in the church. And I really think there is something to that. You can't have any of this without spirituality or some sort of being able to tap into something bigger than ourselves. So
Yes.
I think that it's, Erinn summed it up really nicely, but I think, those who are sort of able to tap into that and have a history of tapping into that really experience a lot of success. A lot of success when it comes to music and making music and connecting to other people with music. And I think that really explains why Erinn experienced so much success in her own career starting out, but also why she ran into a lot of like tension and even friction when it came to the music industry.
I think my first dream was to be able to walk into a room and men respect me as what I say I am, instead of sizing me up and asking me a bunch of questions, ignoring me, things like that. So that led to me just trying to get to know everything. So I just was trying to learn everything, meet everybody, do all the things, read all the things. And then eventually, shortly after that, I was like, I want to be the biggest manager ever. I think I could be great at that. And then I wanted to throw tours. So every time I felt like I wanted to do something, I would do that. And then I would say about 3 or 4 years ago, I just started realizing that even though I was changing individual people around me, I kept coming up against the music industry. I do feel like my thought process is, if we're going to embark on something, why not make it easier for somebody who's even crossing the path? Right?
Yeah.
So I'm not looking to solve everybody's problems always. I'm looking to solve my problem and then the people directly around me. But while I do it, can I create a roadmap, and can I, again, cut through? So it takes a little bit longer, but if you bring more people through, you cut a wider path. And so that's what my goal has been, is to cut a wider path to bring more people through at a time, it slows me down, but it strengthens me. So my dream, I guess, what I saw for the future has consistently evolved, but I'm grateful for that because that means that every time my dream evolves, I'm solving a new problem for somebody else.
I really love that Erinn's imagining of the future just stems from a place of pure empathy, right? Like she experienced she experienced, whether it's being a woman or a Black woman, in the music industry, trying to be a music manager, kept running into, as she said, the music industry, and it's becoming more clear, as we're having a lot of these conversations, is that the music industry and a lot of industries, so not just to pick on music, but a lot of industries, they're not places to actually help people or ensure their flourishing of those taking part and really putting in the hours to make music and make sure that engine keeps chugging along. And I love how Erinn saw that, was able to identify that. And instead of saying, okay, well, I'm going to make sure for myself I can chart a path forward, she said, no, how can I chart a path forward for myself and people like me, even if it slows her down or gets her to her destination slower or just in a different way than she thought.
Yeah, that was the part that really just stood out the most to me. And it stood out to me from a futurist standpoint, right? A big part of, being a visionary or thinking about the future and preparing for whatever the various outcomes of the future are, it's having contingency plans, right? And how do you build a contingency plan? Well, one of the best ways is to build coalitions of collaborators. So if some new problem emerges or new challenge in your career comes about, oh, I don't even know how to handle this. I didn't anticipate this whatsoever. But because you've brought so many people along on their journey with you, they're a phone call away. They're a text message away. And you could just reach out and say, hey, this new thing, I never would have expected I faced this challenge. How have you faced this? Or I know you have resource X. I'd love to collaborate with you on this. Yeah. And, that's what it's all about. Now, you've got more people in your circle or more people that you've grown with or trained up so that when you call upon them, they're more likely to be ready for whatever, may be thrown at you.
Yeah. Coalition of collaborators. That's what you said?
Yeah. Coalition of collaborators. That's what you need to just be, a futurist or prepared for whatever the future may throw at you.
I love that. I love how, she's bringing through, she's really bringing through because of her empathetic nature. People say there's no place in business for like empathy and feelings, but I think this is showing that that's quite the opposite. She got together that coalition of collaborators and use that as a way to help solve that problem, right? She created a company around that coalition of collaborators. And that insight that she gained in her time in the music industry of like, if you really want to help, you have to go outside of music, which again is something that we've heard in a couple of our past interviews. Like you have to go outside of music. Right. She really took that, internalized it, and created a company to help solve that problem. And I think that's really important because when you're thinking of a vision, it's always important to think about the problem that you're solving. For Erinn, that problem became more and more clear.
If you look at the music industry, less than 1% of people who release music make a living off of it, right? Much less pay a team. I'm on the business side, which means that you get paid and that I get paid from what you get paid. That doesn't make sense, right? So being in the music industry, a reality that a lot of people have to come to, that's a really hard truth, is you're not going to make it. Internalize that. You're not going to make it. And for those who are so frustrated by that statement, it's probably going to be you. Like you'll probably potentially be the one who could make it. And then you have to outlast your own self-doubt. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, but most people they're not even aware that you're not going to make it. There's like 70,000 songs uploaded to Spotify daily. That's just Spotify. That's not Deezer. That's not YouTube. That's not all the people who are like, that's not all the songs created in what? You're not going to make it. That's why for my artists, I'm like, I do not care if you make music. Like, what? Everybody makes music. What? So if you can think from that standpoint, like, don't get into the music industry. Figure out, you know what I'm saying? Spotify is not in the music industry. They're in the technology industry. But you cannot be a music artist without utilizing Spotify, right?
Yeah.
That's how we have to think. This is hard. Life is hard, period. The music industry is discouraging AF. Every day the rules change. That's why I learned how to play the game, and then I got out and created my own. I'm not in the music industry. I'm in the people business. People will always make money. People will always win because we are storytellers, and storytellers always win. So we're going to win regardless on my side, but I had to learn that. I had to get out the music industry. I had to be in it so long that I was jaded by the fact that I wasn't really making money. I wasn't getting the answers and the solutions that I wanted, that I was like, if I get out, maybe I can make more. And so I didn't even, most people still think I'm in the music industry. My mindset changed. My actions didn't. You know what I'm saying? Like same universe, different direction, you know?
Yeah. I'm not in the music industry. I'm in the people business. Wow. That is crazy. Like all like conversation after conversation we're having, it's like get out of music. Or at least get out of the music industry, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's so interesting that we keep hearing that over and over again. And you know, that statistic that less than 1% of people make money off of their music, like that's worse than the restaurant statistic that people always throw out there, you know? So man, I think that's so interesting and shows why if you are using music, you know, because you love it, if you're making music because you love it, if you're using it as a tool of connection, like we said before, that's fine, but set a vision that goes beyond music.
Yeah. It makes me think of that old adage where people always say, when a gold rush happens, the miners are not the ones that get rich. It's the people selling the shovels and the pickaxes and the hotels where these folks are staying at and the restaurants where they're eating, right? So if you love music and have a passion for it, it's not to say that you can't make music yourself, but it's about understanding what are some of these auxiliary things that are always going to be generating money. So maybe if, you know, a particular song or a particular project you do, it might rise, it might fall, but you've got these other things as well that augment what's going on. And again, it's those contingency plans, just thinking outside of like the one kind of narrow scope of where you may start, and just understanding the future might take you in several different directions.
Yeah, I love how you talk about contingencies and even that gold rush, because while everybody is, you know, rushing for that gold in different ways, Erinn set her sights on the creator. And it's an insight that we've said before, but the future is creator. And she built her business on that. And she built her vision on that and those creators. So we're going to get into the tool and talk about what a vision statement is, talk about how to use it, talk about how Erinn used it. But first, I just want to talk about Build Your Own Dreams, and how she's created that. I want to talk about that in detail because I think it'll show how her broader vision helped her do more than just blowing up artists. It really helped her create something that was truly valuable.
So Build Your Own Dreams is a full-scale creative company, and we're also a lifestyle brand. And so the creative agency, we call it creative because it's multifaceted. We get brought in to help people creatively negotiate their deals because all of our deals are non-traditional. And so sometimes people are like, well, I want these 5 things and this company wants this. How can we make this happen? And hey, this is how we do this, and we can make it configure like this. So we creatively strategize with companies on releases, on mergers, things like that. But we also do creative marketing strategy for artists and creatives. So mostly music artists, but like I said, we're diving into authors and just personalities, influencers, things like that. But Build Your Own Dreams is my dream to be whatever I want to be. And so it's the company that houses that. So under the lifestyle brand, we sell t-shirts that say Build Your Own Dreams. And we also have a line of therapy tees, but all of our t-shirts, all of our merchandise goes to sending creatives to therapy, right? Because you can't live your own dream. You can't build your own dream if your mental health is messed up, right? You could get there and everything looks from the outside in like it's supposed to be, but you're in shambles. I've been there. I know what that feels like. I know how isolating victory can be. I personally understand the heavy is the head that wears the crown, right? So these things, win doesn't come without sacrifice. And a lot of times the sacrifice is the quality of your mental health, right? And so we take the shirts. We give our artists more than fair deals, and we're very generous. And I don't say that to brag. I'm saying that because it should be the standard. We should care about people. We should be giving, right? Especially as a community. When you give, that just begets more giving, and generosity begets wealth, right? And wealth is multifaceted. It's not just about money. And so I know the more that I talk about what I do, the more that I'm opening eyes and ears to what the future should be, right? And so, we're very generous with our artist deals. So I couldn't find any more money to give them to go to therapy, right? So then I was like, well, maybe we can make this a community project. If we sell shirts and we tell other people that you're going to send Black people to therapy by purchasing a shirt, now we're helping to heal our own community, but you look cool while you're doing it and you're inspiring others. Every time you walk past somebody and the shirt says Build Your Own Dreams, that's like a hug. That's like a high five. That's like a, man, you got this. Or that's like a, damn, I needed to hear that, you know?
Yeah, so she's been able to build this fantastic company, and it really all just started with a vision she had, how she really wanted to change the industry or change industry dynamics. And, you can't do that without having a specific goal, specific problem, and then just thinking through how you're going to approach that. And before we jump into the vision statement tool, there was something that she said that really stuck out to me. She was talking about the deals that she creates for the artists and saying, hey, it's very fair, it's very generous to our artists, and not saying that to brag. And then generosity begets wealth. It just reminded me of this quote from a book I was reading that talked about, kingly giving, right? When you're just giving as if you are wealthy already, giving as if you're rich, and giving with the thought process that so much more is going to come back to me. I'm not worried about the things that I'm giving out and how I'm building out my community or building out others, right? And what the author was saying was like, at its highest level, there is no gift, there is no giver, not even a recipient, just the universe rearranging itself. And it really just stuck with me, where it's like, wow, like, what is really yours? If you're setting up in a world, even when you've amassed a ton of wealth, like, how long is that yours? And is it really yours if you still intend to continue to just, give that away and support others and kind of move things around?
Yeah. Thank you for that sermon, Brother Des. That was great.
Yeah. It was, I think it was a Zen book that I got that from too. So it wasn't even like, a small group or Bible study, but, it just really stuck with me. But yeah, that's the vision. That's the vision that Erinn has set out. And, the vision that she has is an entirely different way of doing business within the music industry and more broadly within the creative industry. So to talk through that a little bit more and to just really crystallize what that vision is, we introduced Erinn to the vision statement tool for Futures. So a vision statement provides a short, vivid description of your idea in order to inspire, energize, and help others create a mental picture of your target future opportunity. So a couple times when you might want to use it, if you're like quickly or simply defining a new idea, an innovation, or a business opportunity, and whatever the desired outcome is for it. Or if you want to condense the essentials of your idea into maybe like an elevator pitch or a 1-minute story. And then last, as you've amassed your organization or your cohort, your collaborators, your team, whatever that is, you might want to just remind them, your team and your partners, of what it is that you're trying to build.
And I love this tool because it's so super practical. I think if you're a music creator and you are wanting to go beyond music, and potentially start some sort of holding company, you want to build a product, you want to go beyond something more than simply the creation of your music. I think this is a great place to start. I think if you're within an organization that is either within the music industry or music adjacent, I think this is a great tool to use if you want to go beyond and build something within that organization that could be helpful to music creators. I think this is another great tool to sort of get your thoughts on paper in a way that you can get agreement from anyone you need to who approve that, or anyone who you want to communicate your vision to.
Yeah. So the vision statement, you got to kick things off with really what the overview is. So that's why you start with the statement, our vision is to, and this is really just, you're setting the scene. What is it? What's the overarching story or the most important thing that you really want to convey? And with a vision statement, you can start to think of it like an iceberg, right? You show them what's at the tip, but then there's a mountain of motivation underneath that's really just supporting the whole idea. So related to you and what you've been doing with Build Your Own Dream, what's your vision statement or what's your elevator pitch for the company?
Okay, our mission, this is why I wanted to read it. Brandon, he came up with this. He killed it. Our mission is to empower ownership by building your dreams.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that Erinn's motivation was, again, we'll talk a little bit about this later, but I think she's talked about it a lot so far. But so many of us are really combating the current crises, right? That, we've been battling our whole lives, but that have been just exacerbated by the pandemic and everything that's been unfolding since it started.
Yeah.
And so, we don't have the bandwidth to think beyond that, the bandwidth to envision the future. So I love that Erinn's company, Build Your Own Dreams, it helps artists and music creators be able to do that. So if we are filling out Erinn's vision statement, we would say our vision is to equip independent creatives with the knowledge and resources to navigate the music industry with success, innovation, and poise.
So the next component of the tool is all about explaining why what you're aiming for or why your vision is truly visionary in the first place. What sets it apart? What's unique about it? So the prompt is, it is almost impossible to achieve this vision because...
I think what makes us different is, again, we're not in the music business. We're in the people business. And I want to specify that even a little bit more. We're community builders, right? So we're great dream builders because we're great community builders. We're doing that in the music industry, and people don't typically take that approach to the music industry. Again, they come in with a product or a service, and then they try to gauge the market for if their product or service is good. We don't have to do that. People always need community because you can't subsist without community, right? So if we can come in and be your community, that's why that's really our business model is we're community builders. So we come to artists who are growing, but don't have teams that grow the same way that they do, right? We come into companies that are looking to express a message, but they have no real engagement with the community that they need to express it with, right? And so we're here to build the gap, bridge the gap. For me, my life purpose is to be a bridge builder. So I'd be doing that whether I was a teacher or a chef or whatever. So as we walk through our industry, we're never confined by an industry because we can take community anywhere, which is why we started out as a label and then we became a creative agency. And I think another really different thing than us is that if you are not in the music industry or music adjacent, there's something here for you. Even when you hit our socials, and you're a dreamer, we have tools on our social media to equip you, like, here's how to think differently, or here's how to build a company, here's things to keep in mind to keep your mental health stable, right? So even if your dream isn't my dream, I'm giving you tools and practical steps, like you can get a business degree and take that into any field because it's the practical steps of thinking. Black people aren't educated in a way that gives you steps that can be utilized specifically. Like you go to school, you have to learn geometry or algebra for what reason, cool, some people become an engineer, whatever, but school is kind of a one size fits all. When you go to college, if you have the opportunity to do that, sometimes you can step into somewhat more nuanced shoes, but you still have to try to fit into that mold. I'm creating the opportunity for people to be able to think different and dream different. That's why we have the Excellence Academy. You can come learn how to just be a unique thinker, how to think like yourself and be paid to be yourself, right? So that's what I'm doing with that. And I think Brandon and I are really integrated into who we want to be and who we are. So as that changes, the type of community that we build changes, but we always win because we have community around us. We're not looking to outlast Warner Records. We're not looking to compete with LVRN because, again, we're not in the music game, we're in the people game, right? And as we build people, there will always be a way for us to build our vision, because with good people comes money, right? If we build the people up, they attract what's needed, we have money, right? And so that's just a resource for us to continue to build. I think that we're going to continue to inspire people to do the same thing. That's why we have the shirts and such. So I think we're the onlys because we're attacking music from a community standpoint. And music is really a me business. It's a me, and I, what can I get? What can I get? And we're coming to say, what can we give? What infrastructure can we build? How can we heal? How can we restore? How can we create ownership? But also, how can we not get engulfed in what's not ours? And how can we get what is ours?
For Erinn, what sets Build Your Own Dreams apart is that it's not music, it's music adjacent, right? Mm-hmm. Like being a step removed from music helps her find more success with her company and her artists. It's a more holistic take on managing music artists and music creators. And it's really that building around a community that has proved to be a better foundation because it's truly impactful for the artists and the creators that it's serving. And again, we keep coming back to the music being tertiary because, again, that statistic, less than 1% of music artists succeed. So I think that's what we should use to continue to fill out this vision statement. It is almost impossible to achieve because less than 1% of music artists succeed.
Those are dire circumstances there, but that's what makes it a worthwhile vision.
Yeah. And I think it also makes it impossible to copy. I know this isn't necessarily a part of the vision statement tool, but it's almost impossible to copy also because Erinn and her business partners are taking a holistic approach, right? They're positioning themselves outside of and adjacent to the music industry. And people don't want to do that. People want the glitz and the glamour. They want the sexiness. They want the money and all of that. And so I think this is also incredibly hard, maybe not impossible, but incredibly hard to copy because of the approach and the empathetic approach that they've taken to creating their business.
Absolutely. So once you set out this overall vision and explained what that is, and then moved into why it's unique, why it's so difficult for you to achieve it, the next part is figuring out the timing. So why is the timing right today to do this?
So, you started Build Your Own Dreams in 2020. Why was that the right time to start, even in the midst of a pandemic?
I'm not a very why person. I'm very much why not, right? I'm a ask for forgiveness instead of permission type of person. So if it wasn't the right time would have told.
And then was there anything like about 2020 specifically, like, advancements in technology or the world kind of being at a watershed moment that like helped contribute to that being a good time?
the fact that I love Black people so much and all that was happening in 2020. Rashad Brooks was my neighbor, so that impacted me
Wow.
very, 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 very visceral way. I didn't know him personally, but yeah, like that happened in my neighborhood, and so it was like I had passed where he was killed maybe like 2 hours before, you know. So the riots and everything, like I could hear the people like chanting, like right down the street from my house. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, so that experience, that was a tipping point for me because I think that a lot of people have been super fed up for a really long time. But that for me was just like, Atlanta to me is such a mecca and such a beautiful utopia of opportunity. And the fact that something so small could rob somebody of the opportunity to live up to their full potential was very destructive to me in a way, but it allowed me to rebuild on a platform that said, if I'm going to do anything, I'm going to really run hard for Black people.
So the timing in which she started Build Your Own Dreams, which is 2020, it was a good time for her to launch, not because of the pandemic necessarily, but because she loves Black people so much, because that's what's on her heart and her soul. She was passionate about Black people and their mental health, and she felt like there was like a barrier to being able to reach that potential. And I think it just shows that strong visions come when you draw from your truest character, when you draw really from like what is on your heart and what's in your soul. And it was really that people not being able to sort of like live up to their fullest potential. So for Build Your Own Dreams and the vision statement, the timing is right today due to the pandemic revealing the unmet potential of creators and presenting better opportunities to serve them.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the quotes that she shared about timing that really just hit with me, when, another part of our conversation, she was saying, there's never a too soon. You'll just be redirected. And I really love that. It just goes to show that when you take agency, when you take action, and become an active participant in the story of your life, that's what's going to happen. Things may not work out in the exact timing where you expected it initially to go, but that energy, that momentum, that effort, it's going to carry you into something positive.
Yeah. Let go and let God.
There we go. It's funny. It's like every episode we enter a little bit closer to this turn into a sermon. That's not our intention at all, but
we can't help it,
Yeah, it's just where it goes, man. It's where it goes. But it's funny to say that, man. And then we go into a favorite line of many a pastor: "We will make the vision real," right? So as we move throughout the rest of this tool, this vision statement tool, that's the next component. The next prompt there is "We will make the vision real in." And this prompt is all about not just the timing of when you start, but the timing in which you will fulfill the vision, or when you'll fulfill certain components of that vision.
I think our mission is ever evolving, so no, but I did set a timeline to pay back our investors and to make a certain amount of money. And so that was a 2-year timeline that we would at least pay our investors back. The goal was to pay them back with a certain amount of interest, but they would at least be paid back at the 2-year point. So we started in September. All of our investors invested between December and January. So we'll be paying everybody back at the end of this year, and prayerfully with interest.
I love how she set a timeline to pay back investors, but she also acknowledged that her mission is ever evolving. So I think for the purposes of building out this tool, we'll say that we will make the vision real in 2 years. However, I do just want to talk about how, again, revisit the point of her saying that her mission is ever evolving. And really having a strong vision helps you see beyond money. So while, you know, we can add, while it's good to have a hard deadline for a vision statement, I think keep in mind that your vision is going to be ever evolving. And a quote that I learned at a Stanford's design thinking boot camp, shout out Jeremy Utley, shout out Marcus Hollinger, is a problem well put is half solved. The problem is never solved. So that vision, right, that keeps us up at night, the vision that we're going to start turning into a reality through this vision statement will always change and evolve as you change and evolve, and the people that you serve change and evolve as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the way that's framed, man. Like there's so many times where people ask a question and then you find out after all this research has been done, all this effort to answer that question, that wasn't even the question that you wanted answered in the first place. So really, that's a key quote right there. A problem well put is half solved. Man, that's it right there.
Yeah. Yep. Shout out to the good people at Stanford.
Yeah, there we go. All right, so we've talked about an overview of the vision. We've talked about what makes the vision so challenging. We've talked about the timing of it, when to start and when we need to complete it or when we need to meet certain standards within that vision. Next, it's time to talk about those beyond yourself within the vision, those partners, right? So the next component, the next prompt is, you'll make this vision real or you'll achieve this vision by working with blank. Who were the key partners and supporters that you needed to work with in order to make your idea happen?
Yeah, Brandon is the only one I needed to make this happen. He's an executor, but he's also a creative. I think I'm first an emotional person, and then a creative, and then a businesswoman. And so I don't have the capacity or the tenacity to really buckle down long term on things for me. Again, if it's somebody else, the added pressure of their disappointment, again, trauma, makes it to where I'm like, game on. Like they don't believe I can do this. It's just so I can do it for them. But when it comes to me or us, it's a consistent battle to stay motivated, to believe in what we say we're moving towards, even when we're seeing wins. Like, So Brandon Boone, I spend so much time singing his praises. That's my guy. He's taught me so much. He's encouraged me like never before, but I talk and he sees it. He's one of the few people I've ever in my life known that doesn't get a glazed over look when I just start, because then he'll do the same to me. And I'm like, yo, we're in the same dimension, So it's like, it's beautiful building with a partner like that. Brandon is super instrumental, but our team has changed my life. And I can't believe how blessed I am with the team that we have. Really and truly, Brandon Boone, he named himself the vice president of the company, but he is the leader, the genius, the chief. He lets me be upfront and be my best self, but he's really the engine and the motor behind. He's brought visions to life that I lost energy for, or that I was so hurt in trying to pursue because people didn't see the value in what I was doing. And he's like, no, this is worth watering, and we're going to keep doing that.
Yeah, and I really loved here how when she was speaking about her team, she first and foremost highlighted her partner, Brandon Boone, right? And I think obviously that shows that she has all of these different team members that help Build Your Own Dreams accomplish their goals. But it's really like she hammered home time and time again. Brandon Boone mentioned his name quite a bit. And I think that just shows like a good team is quality over quantity, right? It's kind of like that rule of three, like within like, any movement or anything, there's really like two or three core people that are really driving that. And then as you expand, it's kind of in multiples of three almost. So she really found him And it connected her to everyone she needed.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that, that also kind of reveals another thing that you should hone in on is that the partners that you find, especially early on when it's just that core team, their skills should offset yours, right? So, if you are, big picture thinker, like super creative, always ideating, you need someone who's more of a project manager that keeps things in order and makes them happen at the right time, or an operations manager that knows how to pull in the right resources and organize things, or hey, maybe they're just a finance whiz, whatever those things are, right? So those skills that complement where you may be weak or where you're lacking, but also it's important to keep that energy on the same wavelength. Like you can have a finance person come in, but they still need to be in tune with that vision or the goal that you're setting out, or just that bond that you have. You don't want too much friction there.
Yeah, exactly. And then, to go even deeper on the empathetic tip, I think it's working with the people that make you your best self, right?
Yeah.
Like people who know you well enough to know how to unlock that part of you that can really just unlock everything for your vision and for your business. So, and continuing to fill out this vision statement, we'll make the vision real in 2 years by working with one complementary visionary.
Absolutely. And then, hey, let's bring it home. We've gone through all these different components of what that vision is. And really it's important at the end is that you're going to achieve that vision by hitting these key milestones.
So we got into that accelerator, and part of the initiation of that program was they posted it, like we got a Billboard article about us. So that spotlit immediately what we were doing and added validity to it. From there, again, I'm just talking about social currency because we're learning about the money side, but I think these things are so much more important. These are things that people don't hear about. It's like, yeah, it's who you know, but it's how you use who you know. And so I think, the Billboard article, I'm trying to think of year one stuff. We threw our own festival. That was another thing that happened in July of 2021. We kept doing events in Austin. So as soon as things started opening up with the pandemic, we were doing events like outdoor events in Austin and Atlanta, so we were some of the first people back when it was safe. We did this art picnic called Articue, and when it was outside, and then we did this thing out in Austin. We were just like very creative with what we were doing. So we were consistently in front of people's faces with events and different things. And then behind the scenes, we're consulting. So now behind the scenes, people are talking about us, but then we're also showing the proof of it. So I think this show and tell was a very intentional or a very needed milestone. So us doing monthly events and having monthly wins that we were consistently posting, Brandon had the vision and the understanding that if this is going to translate well to millennials and people are going to believe what we're doing, you got to tell this story out loud in public.
Yeah, and this to me, this was such a different take. Being in the business world, the corporate world, at hitting milestones. She used when talking about the milestones that they hit in year one, she used the terms social currency and show and tell, which I think is so cool and like futuristic milestones, right? And so
let me jump in real quick. You talked about us different from what you're experiencing. What are those milestones like and kind of the work that you do? Because on my end, it's all about these OKRs and objectives and key results.
Yeah,
and
OKRs, baby.
It's specific.
Those objectives and key results, huh? Yeah, they are those like tangible and quantifiable metrics and numbers that need to be hit. But I think what's so cool about talking with Erinn is that it shows that milestones don't always have to be numeric. They don't have to be quantifiable. And they also don't have to be the same for everyone. One thing that she was like very honest in admitting is that she said that they were actually like pretty bad at setting goals like from the beginning. And so I think it just goes to show how even if you're not hitting some of those tangible, quantifiable, numeric milestones, or even if you never set them to begin with, it could be like a visual intangible milestone that can help you see your progress and your vision coming to fruition and help other people see it as well.
Yeah. And impact, frankly, it just isn't always measurable, especially when we're talking about cultural relevance or resonance. Like, there's no measurement of how much I love an album. Like, you know, like, sometimes you just listen to stuff like it's popular, you just hear it, okay, cool. But when something like motivates you, it inspires you, and you feel that connection, there's no metric for that. There's no metric for love.
100%. And there's no metric for love. There is no way to measure cultural relevance, even though, you know, these brands and agencies, they'll try to measure it through views and engagement metrics and things like that to, again, reach those OKRs and things like that. But Erinn is moving past cultural relevance. She is moving into community relevance, which is a concept that I talk about a lot in the work that I try to do. She's relevant to her community, and she's making her creators and her artists relevant to their communities as well. And that is just simply not measurable. There's no way, like you said, there's no way that you can measure the love that the streets and your audiences have for you. There's no way that you can measure that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think, you know, to wrap this Build Your Own Dreams vision statement up, they'll make it real by working with one complementary visionary and creating a sense of shared success within our community through relevant press, events, and monthly wins. So yeah, that is the vision statement for Erinn Knight and Build Your Own Dreams. And I hope you can see how she has sort of made a vision and followed it through to provide real impact and equip those independent creatives that she set out to empower with knowledge and resources. And really, I think using a tool like this is just so helpful and so important, especially for industries like music, where there's lots of change that's needed, lots of innovators that are really needed to bring about a new era in the industry.
So next, let's chat a little bit about the fact that the reason we're even sharing this tool with you is that it's not just for, you know, the music business folks or even just the corporate business folks. We're all futurists. So Gavin, take it away.
Yes, this is a part of our ongoing effort to convince y'all episode after episode that we are all futurists. And so a good example of that is actually comes from a little bit of crate digging I was doing. I found a record from Roy Ayers and Fela Kuti from the 80s called The Music of Many Colors. And there's a track on it called 2000 Black's Gotta Be Free. And really what it was like in 1980, they cast a vision for Blackness for the year 2000. So again, we're talking about vision statements. We could see how these musicians set a vision statement back in 1980 for the year 2000. And so, like, you know, according to Roy Ayers, like in the year 2000, this should be the year in which a unified African diaspora will sort of like break free of oppression and white supremacy. A year marked by harmony and positivity. That was his vision for the year 2000. And it's really similar kind of like to what we were talking about with Sun Ra and Space is the Place, and using that as a vision, using that as a futurist tool as well. You know, throughout the song, Ayers is sort of like offering like a litany of concepts around unity, righteousness, positive vibes, togetherness, happiness, Africa, Black Africa, the mind, family. But the question now that we're sitting here in the early 2020s is did we reach it? Right. And so it's, you know, more than 4 decades have passed since they've sort of like put out this futurist manifesto. And still today, you know, we're seeing protests all the time. We're still seeing police brutality. We're thinking about the significance of Black lives, and like, to some that it could be a bit of a bleak exercise, right? To compare the future that they had to the present that we're currently living. Because it seems like we're still fighting a lot of the same fights. But I think we can really look at this and say, if they were optimistic about the future and they casted a vision based off of that optimism, then we can as well. So I just want to point to one of the refrains from the song. They say this over and over and over again in the song, but they say, think about the future and don't forget your past. So I think, as we're looking at the song, again, that was recorded in 1980, I hope that we can listen to it almost as like a warning, and know that art can be more than just consumed. It can be actioned. So would things be different if we consumed it differently than just music and just art, and actually took actions to achieve some of the things that they were speaking about in the songs? Not that we didn't, obviously actions have been taken, but I think, again, this could be a powerful tool to unite and actionize, if that's even a word, the masses. So again, could listening to some of the gems from musicians like these, could that help us get further if we looked at them as futurists instead of musicians?
Yeah, absolutely. And, that's what we're setting out to do. So, that power and that responsibility, that's with you as well. Considering yourself as a futurist, the music that you're making, the art that you're making, how that might shape the world. We're all futurists, and we're looking forward to seeing how your art is going to shape humanity going forward. So with that, we will wrap up. Big shout out to our guest today, Erinn, who we walked through this vision statement today. And we'd love to hear from you all, as you're, working through your own vision statements or other exercises we've shared. We'd love to hear, how you're using it and how it's impacting your career. So Desmond Dickerson signing off. Y'all have a good one.
Yep. Peace, y'all.